Star Trek Strange New Worlds is a show that exists because Anson Mount has lots of charisma, and so does his hair. In fact, his hair is more compelling than some of the characters in Strange New Worlds. However, I recently saw an episode in the second series called Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, and I really liked it. I don't know whether it's because my expectations are so low for post 2005 Star Trek, but I really enjoyed this episode. Basically, in the episode, Laan Noonien Singh and James T. Kirk go back to the past, need to save the future. Yes, it's a time travel episode. They need to save the future. But what type of time travel episodes are there in Star Trek? I would contend there are three basic types of successful time travel episode in Star Trek or in any sci-fi franchise. First of all, you have the character study. Then you have the just for fun episodes. And finally, you have the cool concepts. So the character studies are probably the meatiest subgenre here. From the classic series, we have the city on the edge of forever. Kirk has to choose between saving the future and saving his girlfriend. The Next Generation also has a large number. There is All Good Things, where in the series finale, Picard finally realizes the importance of the crew to him. Also in TNG, we have Tapestry, where Picard gets a chance to rewrite his past and see how it affects his future. Deep Space Nine has the visitor, Jake Sisko, has to spend his life working out how to save his father. Voyager has the excellent episode Timeless, where Harry, Kim and Chakotay have to come back and make sure that they save the ship. Now, I've kind of repeated myself there a few times. There are absolutely some tropes involved in time travel stories and in character episodes in particular, and Strange New Worlds, Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow absolutely follows some of these tropes. You have needing to save the future. You have run-ins with law enforcement. You might meet a character you don't know yet. There might be certain cultural references that the character in universe would not know, but we as the viewers would understand. So a potential problem with time travel episodes is that there are no stakes, no real consequences. We know that things are going to reset. We know they're going to save the world. Everything's going to be okay at the end of the episode. So the plot doesn't really matter. It's what it reveals about the character. And for me, this episode, Tomorrow, 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 satisfies this character requirement. So on the one hand, we have James T. Kirk, an alternate universe James T. Kirk, who's not in the Federation, who's not in Starfleet, but still has the relaxed, freewheeling personality. On the other side, we have Laan Noonien Singh, very uptight, and we see these characters interact, and it has consequences for Laan by the end of the episode. Next, we have time travel episodes that are just for fun. I think the biggest example here is Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home. So this entire movie is basically just for fun. In terms of specific examples, think about Spock on the bus. Think about Chekhov looking for the submarines. Another example that I personally quite like is relativity in Voyager. 7 of 9 gets recruited by the Future Federation to stop Voyager being destroyed. There's multiple versions of 7 of 9 running around. She bounces around the timeline both during and before the show. Another one that I enjoy is Future's End, a 2-part story from Voyager that travels back to 1996. On a side note, I think Star Trek Voyager has a lot of fun episodes. In some ways, it's a disappointing series, but I think it's the show that's most reminiscent of the original series. The third type of time travel show is the cool concept. I guess these would be hard science fiction ideas, the kind of thing you would read in a plot summary for a Neil Stephenson novel. The biggest example of this is cause and effect in The Next Generation. The crew are stuck in a time loop, the ship explodes at the end of the loop and then goes back to the beginning. The crew have to find out that they're in the loop, then they have to break out of it. For me, this is one of the greatest episodes of all Star Trek. Another example would be a blink of an eye in Voyager, where the synchronicity of time on the ship and the planet below them are different. It's debatable whether a blink of an eye is time travel in the strictest sense of the word, but I think it's close enough and the concept is cool enough that I'm going to include it. For both cause and effect and blink of an eye, they feel like they aren't specific to their shows, in the sense you could replace the characters and do the exact same plot in another Star Trek show or in another science fiction franchise entirely. So Star Trek has a long history of producing really interesting time travel stories, and I think the episode Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow could be looked back on as being worthy of being on this list. So I'd give it a thumbs up definitely to this episode, not to Strange New Worlds in general, as I think it's been an incredibly shaky show. Star Trek being incredibly shaky in the early seasons also has a long history, so there's the potential there for this to change as well. But it is a show with problems. I don't really like the way they're dealing with Spock. I think his lack of control over his emotions is a bit excessive compared to the original series. I think there are other relationships with potential, like Pike and Ortegas, for example. Why do they get on so well? I'm interested, but there's no depth to that. I want to be convinced. What happened? Why are they so friendly with each other? So I think this episode could be a sign of good things to come. I'm not saying it will be, I'm saying there's potential. For example, and this is going to be light spoilers for the end of the episode, La'an is in a very emotionally vulnerable place at the end of this episode. Now think about a show like Star Trek Discovery. That's all about the emotional safety of the crew and the other characters. I don't think Star Trek Discovery would allow an episode to end for a character in the way that Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow ends. So that gives me some hope that this series might be better. However, I'm comparing this show to Star Trek Discovery. That's an incredibly low bar, so I'm definitely open to my opinion changing over the time. Thanks for watching.